Okay, welcome in this video. Sorry, just hydrating. In this video, we are going to do some team-wide analytics for NFL football teams, but the quirk in this video is we're going to show you how to add the really cool images on screen. So the logos of the team and the actual like image of the team on the plot, which makes for a really nice plot. So as always, I'm loading my data from NFL Fast R. Did a video on how to do that. We get this very awesome NFL data, and let's say we want to look at penalties. We want to look at which teams get a lot of penalties, which teams, how many penalties they get, how many yards they get punished for. There's a million different stats that you can look at, and you can change this code to make it flexible for what you want to do, but we're going to start with penalties. So let's say I'm going to initialize my data pen. And again, the nice thing about NFL Fast R is it has data on that. So I'm going to aggregate data penalty yards. And again, that's, I'm just familiar with this data. I know there's a column. I know it's called penalty yards, but you can take some time looking around and seeing like what columns are in the data. And I want to aggregate that by equals list data penalty team. So the team that committed the penalty. And I'm just going to sum up the penalty yards by the team that committed the penalty. And I'm going to make this a data table because why not? Let me put everything in here so you can see data pen, and boom, you can see I've got my data, I've got the team, I've got the number of penalty yards. This is through week 8 of the 2021 season. I see a couple big numbers. There's Cleveland is a big number. SF is a big number. So, well, that's we'll come back to kind of looking at that. I'm just going to establish the names of this data table. It's going to be team and yards for, the team that committed the penalty and the total yards they committed. And now let's say I want to add number of penalties. So I'm going to kind of use this code again, do data pen num for number of penalties. And it's the same code, but instead of looking at the sum, I'm going to want to look at the length because I want to see how many times was there, penalty yards. And, even better than doing the length, we can just look at penalty, which is a binary variable that's 0 if there's a penalty and 1, 0 if there's not a penalty and 1 if there is a penalty. So I'm going to just sum that by penalty team. And you can see here, we just get the number of penalties per team. So I want to let's make the names again, team and N for number of penalties. So I want to combine these two data tables. An easy way to do it would just be to do data pen N equals data pen num N. Assign that, but that's kind of a sloppy way to do it. A better way to do it, which we're actually going to do again in this video soon, is to merge these two data tables. So I'm going to merge data pen num, and I want to merge by their shared column is team. So I want to merge by team, and I'm just going to run that, and you can see it works perfectly. R merges it, pulls it together, and I'm just going to assign the output of that to my original data pen, which you can now see. So that's really awesome. And we can make a cool plot of, these results. Data pen, X equals, let's do X equals N, Y equals yards. And in this case, I'm going to do label equals team. You're going to see why in a second. And instead of adding geom point, geom line, the usual, I'm going to add geom text, which takes the variable label. So in this case, I'm plotting the text, the team instead of a line or a point. And again, my ggplot is slow. Sorry, I need to update my computer, but should get it any moment now. There we go. And now you can see on the very simple plot, but on the x-axis is number of penalties, and on the y-axis is yards. And you can see there's obviously a positive relationship. The more penalties you get, the more yards. You can see quickly like the Rams are very disciplined, not a lot of penalties, not a lot of yards. Tampa Bay, surprisingly, Tom Brady's team has the most number of yards from, taken away from penalties. The 49ers are not committing a ton of penalties, but their penalties are like very bad. And we can do a quick like check of that. Like, let's say that X equals data where penalty team equals SF. And now I want to look at data, or I want to look at the table of the penalty type. And let's sort that. sort that. And here I've got 11 DPIs against the 49ers. So their most common penalty is holding, tied with DPI. And DPI is a very, that's a huge penalty. Like you're going to get a ton of yards. So that's kind of why you see SF having a ton of yards here. Whereas the Eagles like committed a lot of penalties, but are not as the penalties are not as severe. And we can see that as well. Like if we save and yeah, we get holding, but also false starts. And then DPI is like there's the Eagles have less than half of the DPIs that SF does. So that's part of it. So that's very cool, very interesting. This can be useful for something you're looking at. And again, it doesn't have to be penalty data, but wouldn't it be cool if we could have the logos of the teams on this ggplot instead of just the kind of team abbreviation? And turns out we can. There's when you load NFL Fast R, I did in a previous video, install packages NFL Fast R, you get this awesome data table that just populates into your environment called team_colors_logos. And this has all the data that you need for kind of the team, the abbreviation of the team, the full name, the ID, the nickname, team color, and it has a bunch of other useful columns, including the team logo, either from Wikipedia or ESPN. We're going to use the ESPN one. So this is super useful. Let's add this into our data pen already data table we're using. So we're going to merge these two. It's a little bit more complicated of a merge. We want to merge by X. So X is our data pen here. We want to merge on the team column, and in our teams colors logos data table, we want to merge on the team abbreviation column. So team abbreviation. And we don't want all the columns of teams colors logos. We only want the actual team logo ESPN. So I'm just going to subset. I'm just going to grab team abbreviation because we need that to merge, and then team logo ESPN. Sorry, it's a little bit off the page, but so I'm going to merge that, and you can see I get my same data penalty here with the team logos as an added column. And I'm going to save that to data pen. Awesome. And now my data pen has all the logos. So now this is really cool. Instead of label team, I can do image. I believe it's image. I mess that up, but we'll see in a second. Team logo ESPN, and then I can do geom image. And this might take a second because my ggplot is slow and it has to kind of buffer or whatever all the different logos. But we can run it and cross our fingers. Your ggplot will probably be faster. I just have been behind on updating. But you can see this is the same structure. And there we go. Voila. We have our plot, our same plot as before, but instead of the team abbreviation, you can see the actual logos here, which is pretty sweet. And, they're a little bit ugly. They're a little bit small, kind of shrunk this way. Maybe you need to make them wider. You can adjust that with the size parameter and geom image. You can, drag your plot left and right. I'm not going to do it here because it's just unnecessary time fiddling with the different size parameters. And my ggplot is slow, as I mentioned. But this is a pretty cool plot because you can automatically see, very familiar to people. I think it'll make your analytics and your visuals pop. So hopefully some of you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time for our next video on NFL analytics.